Reason for allowing special characters in Python attributes. I somewhat accidentally discovered that you can set illegal attributes to an object using setAttr. By illegal, I mean attributes with names that can't be retrieved using the _getter_ interface with traditional dot operator references. They can only be retrieved via the getter method. This, to me, seems rather astonishing, and I'm wondering if there's a reason for this, or if it's just something overlooked, etc. Since there exists an operator for retrieving attributes, and a standard implementation of the setAttribute interface, I would expect it to only allow attribute names that can actually be retrieved normally. And, if you had some bizarre reason to want attributes that have invalid names, you would have to implement your own interface for them. Am I alone in being surprised by this behavior? This returns something that is both odd, and a little misleading, _weakref_ bar.baz. And if I want to access foo.bar.baz in the standard way, I cannot. The inability to retrieve it makes perfect sense, but the ability to set it is surprising. Is it simply assumed that, if you have to use setAttr to set the variable, you are going to reference it via getter? Because at runtime, this may not always be true, especially with Python's interactive interpreter, reflection, etc. It still seems very odd that this would be permitted by default. Edit, an, very rough, example of what I would expect to see as the default implementation of setAttr. This will not permit me to use invalid characters in my attribute names. Obviously, super could not be used on the base object class, but this is just an example.
I think that your assumption that attributes must be identifiers is incorrect. As you've noted, Python objects support arbitrary attributes, not just identifiers, because for most objects, the attributes are stored in the instances _dict_, which is a dict and therefore supports arbitrary string keys. However, in order to have an attribute access operator at all, the set of names that can be accessed in that way needs to be restricted to allow for the generation of the syntax that can parse it. Is it simply assumed that, if you have to use setAttr to set the variable, you are going to reference it via getter? No. I don't think that's assumed. I think that the assumption is that if you're referencing attributes using the dot operator, then you know what those attributes are. And if you have the ability to know what those attributes are, then you probably have control over what they're called. And if you have control over what they're called, then you can name them something that the parser knows how to handle. Smile.
I see that feature of the language as an unintended side effect of how the language is implemented. There are several issues which suggest the feature is a side effect. First, from the Zen of Python. There should be one and preferably only one obvious way to do it. For me, the obvious way to access an attribute is with dot operator. Thus, I consider names incompatible with the operator illegal as they require hacks to use them. Second, despite we can have integer key in the instances _dict_, as pointed by Mark Ransom, I do not consider int to be a valid attribute name, especially that it breaks the object behavior. Third, it is not completely true what Python documentation claims about the dot operator and the getter built-in equivalence. The difference is in the resulting bytecode. The former compiles to load _attr bytecode, while the latter, to call _ function. Same applies to the setHatter built-in. Thus, I see built-ins as a kind of walk-around introduced to facilitate dynamic attribute access. The built-in was absent in Python 0.9.1. Finally, the following code, declaring _slots_attributes, fails. Which suggests that attribute names are supposed to be identifiers. However, since I cannot find any formal syntax for allowed attribute names, I also see the point raised by @Nielsen valid.